Dubia are very simple to take care of. You can provide them with some egg crates. You can give them cardboard, old egg cartons from your fridge after you have no more eggs, and put them in a bin with some fruit and Josh's Frogs Roach rations, and they're gonna be going very well. But don't forget to give them some kind of water source. What we use is water crystals, and we do have those provided on the website too. Hi, I'm Jacob here at Josh's Frogs, and I'm a cockroach technician. I do all things Dubia, orange head, and all of our pet roaches. Here today I'm going to be talking about our Dubia roaches. Dubia are very nutritious and an all-around staple feeder. You can use them for bearded dragons, you can use them for your lizards, crested geckos. Just about anything will eat a Dubia roach. My favorite thing to do is the tong feed because it really brings a lot of interaction with you and your caged animals. Dubia roaches are very popular due to the low smells. They're quiet, unlike crickets. They do not escape as easy. If you've ever fed your animal crickets, you know they'll be jumping out of the cage. They'll sometimes hide very well, but Dubia are a lot easier to put into a feeder cup and they will not escape. They cannot climb, they do not fly, even though the males do have wings. Dubia's and crickets' nutritional value are very similar, and the best benefit is the no chirping, they're not jumping around, and some people have even reported crickets nipping at their more fragile like frogs, and Dubia will not do that. The worst the Dubia roach is going to do is maybe bury itself in the substrate. We feed our Dubia roaches the Josh's Frogs Roach rations and organic fruit. We'll do apples, we'll do oranges, just about anything we can get our hands on. If you keep them nice and warm, closer to 90 degrees, most people like to store them maybe in a closet that has a heater, or sometimes in their basement with a heating pad. They'll breed very well. I recommend to always start out with a lot more nymphs, which are the baby roaches, than anything, because if you start immediately feeding off of your colony, you're gonna see very quickly that you will not have that production that you really think you will. So set up your colony, wait a couple months, give them food, watch them, clean them out a little bit, because they are a little bit picky. They're not just like a regular roach that would infest someone's house. They do not want to be dirty. And you will see a lot of movement, a lot of nymphs, and a lot of breeding, and you will always have feeders on hand. One of my little tips for breeding Dubia roaches is definitely keeping the humidity high. A lot of people will let them dry out, and that will make it so your males will have very distorted wings. Their wings will be crumpled. They'll sometimes nip at each other when they're molting because they just want any type of water source. That's why the water crystals come in very handy. All right, what I have here is our Josh's Frogs breeding kit. This is one of the best setups for Dubia roaches and will make sure you always have fresh feeders on hand. You can really use any type of bin. We use Sterilite gasketed bins just so no pests get in, but that's because we are a large facility. At your house, you can use any type of tote you have. You can use small totes, large totes. They're really not too picky about where they're at. You just want to make sure you provide spaces for them to climb. You can give them cardboard, you can give them old egg cartons, you can give them tubes from your toilet paper or paper towel. They're very adaptable to really any environment. If you want to breed the most, you're going to want to keep them close to 90 degrees. And the easiest way to do that is with a heating pad, but you're going to want to add a thermostat to that also, because you don't want them to get too hot or you will see a lot of them perish. You can take the cocoa brick, and if you provide enough water, it's going to expand, but I do recommend waiting at least a couple hours, because sometimes when you expand them, they are a little bit too wet, and if that happens, you just can lay it out maybe in a flat surface and let it dry out, or in front of a heater. But you want it to be nice and able to clump, but not drip water, because the Dubia do not want to be overly wet. You likely will not need the full brick either, because the deeper you make it, the harder it's going to be to find the nymphs, which are the babies. All your smallest ones will likely be down there, and it will not make it as easy. But once your colony really starts going, they'll be all over these egg crates. We use egg flats here because it's much easier. We go through a lot, and I recommend crossing them because it will provide more hiding spaces, and the more hiding spaces you have, the better it's going to be for the roach. After you get all your egg flats, cardboard, or really anything for them to climb on, you could even use cork bark if that's what you have on hand. Once you get them in there, you can add your roaches in. In the breeding kit, you get 10 male dubia and 25 female dubia, all adults. And that is the best ratio. You always want to have more females to males to see the best nymph production. All right, first we're going to start with the males. We're going to dump those in, followed by the females, and then the 3/4 inch nymphs. One huge important factor to always keep in mind with dubia roaches, or really any roach, they will want fresh air. Provide some kind of ventilation. On this bin, it's a very simple setup. I took a hot knife and I cut a giant hole. I took some hard screen and hot glued it to the opening, and nothing will escape. You want to make sure the holes are nice and small because a baby roach is about 1/8 of an inch when it's first born. So as long as they can't escape that, you'll never have to worry about anything. But if they do escape, like I said earlier, they do like their certain parameters. They're not going to survive in your house or be chirping in a corner. You'll never hear them. After you add all of your roaches into your colony, you're just about done. I would add some food for them. When you first set them up, they're likely not going to be extremely hungry, so you can give them a small amount of Josh's Frogs roach rations or just the water crystals for now. And after a couple of days and they get back used to this new environment, they will be extremely hungry, and you can give them apples, carrots, zucchini, just about any vegetable or fruit you can think of. I like to test it and experiment and see what they like more, and they really like bananas or anything with sugar. The more variety you add to their diet, the better it's going to be for your pet, because the better these guys are eating, the better your animal's health is going to be. For a small colony like this, I would always give them small slices. It's easier to give them less, and if they eat it all, then you know next time you feed them, maybe you give them a little bit more. You don't want to leave food in there for too long because it will mold or attract gnats, and they don't necessarily like that. Mold will make your colony a lot less productive, and you don't want the mold to get down into your substrate there. The last step after you add some water crystals and maybe a couple slices of some food is put your lid on, store them somewhere warm, and wait at least 2 months, and you'll see a lot of production in there. I would always check on them, make sure their substrate does not dry out too much. You can even provide them a humidity monitor in there, and you want to keep it right around 50 to 60%. Too high over 60 will get way too moist in there, so I recommend about 55%. The easiest way to do that is, if you see your substrate drying out, give them a small misting down the side. Also provide a clean environment for them. If you see any molts or any adult roaches that have passed because they're too old, definitely take those out and throw them away. You can put them in your freezer if you're afraid of just throwing them in your trash, and then discard them that way. Other than that, after you have your colony set up, you're all set to go.